Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. Blood-soaked October Halloween magic. People, you know what it is. Every October, we here at the Film Alchemist podcast, we stand on the precipice of the October Horror Mega Marathon. This is day one of our 31 days, 31 pods marathon. We are so fucking excited. Every year we finish this and we go, we can't possibly survive another. Yet here we stand again.
We only done that 2 years in a row. After the third year, I was like, yeah, I guess we'll do it again. And you were like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, we're doing it. I know we're going to do it.
Last year was a bear for me. But I love them so much when they're done. And then by the time it hits February, I'm like already rescheduling it, which is exactly what happened.
By the time we get to December, we're like, well, I guess we're going to do it. What's the franchise?
We need to start. So, guys, we've done some things. I'm Josh Griffey. That's Alex Dandino. You can call him Lefty or Chop Top if you want. Those are kind of his energy. I have gray hair. I'm a lonely stretch trying to survive this world, but that's neither here nor there. Guys, we've done some things, right? So we have 31 days, 31 pods. If you want every pod this month, go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. 3 of the episodes over there will have a commentary and 2 Patreon exclusives that our patrons vote on to decide which 2 movies they want for the marathon. So you want 31. You don't want 28. So come on over to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. We have tons of awesome stuff for you over there. If you're a horror movie person, we even have a Tales from the Crypt miniseries that you may enjoy as well. Thank you for that. Also, guys, make sure you leave ratings and reviews. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, Film Alchemist. Email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com if you have thoughts or any ideas for us. Hit us up. The other thing, guys, if you have horror movie loving friends or just movie loving friends, text them directly, direct message them with an episode. We'll take it from there. We have over 500 for you to choose from, so there should be something they like in there. We appreciate you. This is the start of the Mega Marathon, so we're trying to get the business ramped up so that this is the biggest and best year yet. All right. For those of you who have been with us, you know the deal. For those of you who are new, let's start here. Every year on the Mega Marathon, we have a podcast every day, which is quite a load to fill a schedule. So we start the year every year by covering 2 franchises in total. This year, you're getting a little bonus. So up first, we're starting today with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. All of them. We don't skip days. We don't skip entries. No matter if they've passed their expiration date. We do not skip entries. So I have adjusted. We did Texas Chainsaw years ago. I've adjusted that so it should appear in your feed right now. So if you're finding this, it should be right before this. Listen to that too if you want. We're starting today with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And then we'll be plowing through day by day the entire franchise. Then I was fortunate enough to be joined by our dear friend Carmelita Valdez-McCoy for the entirety of the Phantasm franchise. Phantasm. And then Alex and I will finish off the Scream movies we have not gotten to yet. Scream 5 and 6. That's the first half of this month, guys. And then you will get into our Patreon exclusives and our amazing, awesome friends who have been nice enough to guest host and bring a horror movie to us for the marathon. So we're super excited. I know this is a long intro, but we're setting the stage for the Mega Marathon. So let's make this episode a little longer. Texas Chainsaw is probably the biggest, most iconic franchise we hadn't gotten to yet, right? We did Child's Play, Hellraiser, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. We've done most of the big guys, right? Candyman, Scream. This Leatherface was the Titan we had not yet addressed. I think you could make an argument that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is among the 2, maybe 3 greatest American films ever made. It is an open nerve of a film, right? That scene when 127 Hours where Franco's trying to cut through that nerve or tendon, whatever that fucking sound was, that like shocked me and Tom Noonan. We were in the theater together, me and the great Tom Noonan. And that sound that like rattled all of our brains, that's what Texas Chainsaw felt like for the whole movie when I saw it the first time. It had this quasi-documentary style that was kind of fresh. Leatherface was a true force of nature, a terrifying visage. This death of the American dream kind of thing, right? These left behind Americans in these big empty spaces. It's one of the best American films ever made, I would say. It's damn near flawless. It's primordial. Love that fucking movie to death. We already talked about that. Listen to that one. This franchise en masse has struggled to ever recapture that magic. Be it reboot, be it sequel. They've never quite rediscovered what made Leatherface such a tsunami of terror and evil in that first one. And I think an interesting case study for that, maybe the most interesting, is today's movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Budgets were dropped, so Tobe Hooper came back in to direct because they couldn't afford another director. This one went full banana. It was originally going to be called Valley of the Cannibals and be a Motel Hell parody or satire. This, I guess generously you would say this is kind of the Evil Dead 2 to Texas Chainsaw, right? Where now we're going to amp up the humor. There's going to be a lot of gags and jokes. This is something that I'm sure Rob Zombie puts on when he's doing his business. Probably erect every time he watches this movie. Must love this film. You see the DNA in House of a Thousand Corpses all over Texas Chainsaw 2. But this is where Leatherface and the family go from this inevitable monster at the end of the American road, right? To kind of this big cartoony, like what if the Addams Family were food truck guys and hit the road and were cannibals, I guess. So it still has a lot of that same energy that Texas Chainsaw had, but in just a completely bizarre and new direction. So I think it's an interesting kind of like, this is the road the sequels will travel. I still like this film quite a lot, but I definitely understand those who don't. So Alex, let's start off with your opening thoughts on Texas Chainsaw en masse and then Texas Chainsaw 2 specifically.
I don't think I've ever said this to you or really anybody, because it really just doesn't come up in my daily life. I don't really like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It's not a personal thing.
Well, also before the pod, you were not probably the most, like, you weren't reaching for horror movies as often. Now you're like, you're in the wars.
Now it's just sort of part of my vibe. Like, yeah. I'll watch them because they're there. Like, I think this is like a big thing about me is like, it's not my first reach. Like, I would watch like drama or fantasy before I watched horror movies, but it more or less still just, now it clicks because it's just, I don't know if it's maybe because I'm older and I like, maybe I am just like fully desensitized now.
You've done 200 episodes of podcasts about horror movies.
Well, it's not even that. Like when I was a kid, it just like really fucked with me when I saw like scary shit. Even in the video store, it scared me. So like there's things that like were part of my DNA that weren't this. I think that there were, now obviously, it's just different because I've watched enough now where I find them interesting on a whole different level. However, and this is the reason I like doing October more than anything. Because again, en masse, I do not watch the sequels to these. Like, I've always seen the first ones of all these. Never do I really dive into the sequels, because quite frankly, the sequels, I'm like, I get it. When I was younger, going into college, it was one of those things like, I get it. I know the gag. I understand there's a guy who's going to murder everyone. Eventually, he'll stop murdering people, and then the movie ends. Like, that's like, I get it. Nothing about that is surprising.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, when I was younger, that was the reductive thing. It was just to say, like, yeah, I get it. I understand what the movie's about. Having watched a lot of these, and this is, again, like I was saying, why I like doing October. Because when we go through and watch all these, even though I don't do all the episodes, because, for some reason I think I'm more important than this sometimes. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't do them, and I feel bad a lot of the time. I still watch all of the movies. Like,
what a goddamn C-word thing to say. No, I'm just kidding.
I agree. Like, I feel like a real dickhead sometimes when I don't.
You're not.
Like,
You just have a busier, less flexible schedule. This is a joke for the audience.
When I don't do these shows, I still feel bad. However, I do watch these movies, so I have watched all the sequels for everything at this point. I'm glad I watched them when I was older because I'm smarter, at least I think I am, than I was when I was like 19 or 20. And rather than being a reductive asshole, I can finally watch these movies and actually enjoy them and say, oh, wow, there is a lot of cool shit going on here. So, having said all that, I'm excited to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series because it's not really my favorite thing. I don't think it's very interesting. However, and I'll say this right off the bat, Texas Chainsaw 2 was weird. And I was like, that was not what I expected. I'm very excited to talk about it.
At minimum, it is a weird film.
So, for me, Texas Chainsaw 2 is gotta be the progenitor, besides Rob Zombie, of like every let's not take this so seriously slasher movie. Like, there is a level of black comedy in this movie that is so bizarre but it never crosses the line to camp. I think this is a really important thing about it.
You think?
I really don't. And I'll tell you why. Because while it could, and if you think it does, that's fine too. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yeah. It never crosses over into camp because the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre lingers in the back of your head and you remember that movie, and there's raw nerve is a great way to put that. The like exposed nerve of this franchise being that first movie never doesn't go away. The echo throughout the entire franchise still lasts. So when I watch this movie, and there's a scene when we talk about it, the scene that, and everyone, it's a pretty famous scene, and I know it's famous because I read about it and I was told it was famous. That scene could be considered camp if you have never seen the first Chainsaw movie. But because you've seen the first Chainsaw movie and you've seen this brutality already, that is what makes this a unique sequel and what makes it actually very interesting, I think. So
it's funny because it plays as almost a direct attack on what made the first movie.
Oh yeah, it's like literally, I mean, from the poster down to the way the movie
poster is one of my all-time favorite movie posters.
Poster.
It's the Sawyers and like the Breakfast Club poses.
Awesome. And
you immediately see that and you're like, oh, we're doing a thing. And to be fair, I think chasing down Texas Chainsaw was one of those once in a lifetime kind of films.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Especially, I mean, for horror films, like one of the 2 to 5 most impactful horror films ever.
Yeah.
Right? It predated a lot of like, you know, Halloween and the stuff that, like, Halloween obviously clearly helped to make a whole kind of new genre of slashers, right? Texas Chainsaw was before that, but it didn't have as many of the things set.
Chainsaw 74.
Yeah, you could argue Psycho. You could argue The Exorcist.
I mean, the major slasher films were post this. This is the first one out the gate, really.
Right, and
besides,
so yeah,
like, maybe Psycho.
I think this is right. Like maybe the most important horror movie. Like Psycho's pretty hard to jump. Halloween, but like this cabal of these films, right? There was no fucking chance they were going to get great results by just trying to recreate the dark magic of that film.
Right.
That, I mean, you see it all the time in sequels where they're just like, let's do the same movie, but the characters have seen shit and they're traumatized. and not even before, now with the legacy sequels are just like, I've lived 50 years waiting for my agent to call. I'm so sad and scared. And it's like, all right, next. But the sequels that just try to remake, like that's why I even laugh. Exorcist 2 might be the worst film I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Besides Skinamarink, which someday we'll talk about on this show for 10 minutes. It's one of the worst films of all time. But again, you were never going to get back to that Exorcist 1 thing. You just weren't. So trying was an absolute fucking fool's errand. So what they said is, what if we take some of the iconography we like of Texas Chainsaw? Right? You still got Leatherface. You still got the saws. And what if we just made it fun? We can't make it as grotesque. We can't make it this, you know, torturous experiment, right? It's not going to have subtextually the same impact because, to your point, we've already been to that house.
Yeah.
We've seen the Sawyer house, right? Whereas the cops in Texas can't find it.
Right.
We can. We know what's there. So the idea that this movie just says, let's reset it to where they're essentially just shit kicking around, living in an amusement park, running food trucks, and doing chili cook-offs. That's like an insane... If you had told me, like, if I had seen Texas Chainsaw in the theater and you came to me and said, hey, here's the elevator pitch for part 2, the Sawyers have become food truck men
right, like,
who live in an abandoned amusement park, you'd be like, wait, what?
Isn't that like... I mean, and that's what I think is really kind of brilliant about Chainsaw 2, is you just, like, imagine going into the Canon group and being like, I have a pitch for Texas Chainsaw 2, and they're like, oh my God.
It's kind of the
please.
perfect canon movie.
Check it out. These guys are now gourmands who run a food truck.
Have you seen The Bear? You haven't, but in 50 years, you're going to love it. It's that with the little, Bugs Bunny in there. But, like, so right out the bat, we start in just this fucking obnoxious Texas teenagers. Yay! And this is another thing, because I think Rob Zombie got his specific tenor of how everyone and his people talk. Like they're screaming over a DJ at a house party.
Yeah.
Right?
Or screaming over a Rob Zombie record. That's what you're saying.
Hey, don't turn down the Kid Rock. I'll just scream louder.
Don't turn down that Living Dead girl. I'm jamming.
Don't ever turn down Skinner. We'll just yell at each other.
You don't ever turn down Dracula. I am talking.
But, like, a prime example of this, the opening scene of Rob Zombie's Halloween with the family, where it's, you know, the baby's crying. He's like, yo, you got a nice pooper, to, like, his stepdaughter. Like, that scene is, like, one of the most, like, cringy scenes to sit through. That's kind of this whole movie. And Rob Zombie clearly was inspired. But so we take these Texas teenagers who are now no longer, like, kids going to a concert. They're literally cartoon characters wearing holographic eyeball glasses, causing mayhem and mischief and chicken, right? And what happens is they're out looking for trouble, right? And as Dennis Hopper says, we'll get to Dennis Hopper, hell was exactly what they raised. And you're like, yeah, dude, awesome. So then we're doing a side-by-side drive, because apparently the radio station can't hang up a call, which I believe that technology existed in the 70s. Maybe not in Texas, I don't know. But Leatherface, they're driving side-by-side in cars. Leatherface is no longer Leatherface, but he's wearing a marionette dead body, like a super corpse suit, which come to find out, cool. this corpse was, as we discover in this movie, named Nubbins, and that was the hitcher from part 1.
Oh.
That's supposed to be the hitchhiker, so it's their brother. He's wearing essentially like an all-black bodysuit, like he's a motion capture artist, and his brother on front of him. So there is a vileness to the image.
Yeah.
The fucking guy shoots the head off of it, or at least knocks it over, and then Leatherface is revealed. Yeah. Almost like he's been unmasked in a Scooby-Doo episode. And then, like, he's anchored to the truck, like the guy at the front of Mad Max Fury Road with the guitar.
Yeah.
Just starts chainsawing as we're driving. And you're like, this film has so much motion and madness. It's out in the open. Like, part of what made Texas Chainsaw scary was it was in the middle of nowhere. There was no help.
Right.
This is just happening on, like, county roads.
I feel like this is something that I think is really specific to people who live in Texas. Because, I was born in Dallas. Yeah. And we were only there for like 3 or 4 years.
You're claiming Texan blood? Is that what's happening?
Absolutely not. I've never told anybody.
The blood of a Texan flows red and proud.
So I was born in Dallas, but like we had a lot of family in Oklahoma.
He was born and delivered onto the star at the 50-yard line of Cowboy Stadium. Emmett Smith ran and jumped over him.
When I was a kid, I was a big Troy Aikman fan. I'll say that.
But everyone loved that Cowboy Stadium.
Obviously.
No, I get it. You're the most Texan of all. That's fine. You could probably just pick up a lasso for the first time and like hog tie your kid.
Just know how to do it.
Yeah, like that character in Mighty Ducks who joins the team.
Is that what it is?
We're lassoing.
We're all quietly born with that innate ability.
Yeah, it just kind of comes natural to you guys.
But like, so I was born in Dallas, but like I went back there like a few years ago for work. And so we had to drive down to I was working on a show about jail, whatever. And we had to drive down to this jail that was down past Waco. And
I was just in Waco, yeah.
Right. So, okay, so
we went to Waco to go to Magnolia. Apparently there's this couple that, like, flips houses that's hugely popular.
Oh, no shit.
And so my wife made us stop to eat at their little hipster-ass restaurant. I was like, they have this every block in L.A. Why did we stop in Waco?
Well, you got to go to Whataburger. That's what you do in Texas.
No, we went to Buc-ee's. Fucking Buc-ee's.
Oh, Buc-ee's is also
Texas
great.
Chainsaw 2 is to Texas Chainsaw what Buc-ee's is to a normal gas station. I think that's the best way.
But like, okay, so then if you've recently been down there, so like when you're driving to Waco, for instance, from Dallas, it is exactly as barren as explained in the this movie is in 1986.
Right.
Nothing's changed. There's so much space still.
That's
and
true.
Like, holy
the
shit.
difference is this is big and loud and in your face, sparks flying.
Of course.
The Leatherface is not covering up his own visage, which he doesn't want anyone to see. Now it's like a comedy bit.
But I think to kids who, like when I watch this, like to kids who grew up in any sort of township, it's bizarre that anybody would not notice that. Even in stuff like, even in places like where we grew up in Indiana, which, sometimes are a little sleepier than others.
Country roads, right? There's movies like this, Joyride, Duel, Jeepers Creepers, like that isolation, that loneliness,
Absolutely.
Right? I get all that. What I'm saying is that I love that the opening scene is like, we are going to loudly and immediately tell you, this ain't your daddy's Texas Chainsaw, right? Part of why the Sawyers are scary is that, they're forgotten. They're left behind. We won't even look at them. We're just going to pretend they don't exist. Right. Now they're fucking winning Oklahoma versus Texas chili-offs, right? Now they're in the radio. They're playing them on the radio. So this is putting it, it's almost as if they said, we unleashed Leatherface on you. There's no more scare, whatever. Now we're going to rub your fucking face in Leatherface. Right? And that marionette suit is kind of a bizarre but brilliant addition. Because one of the things they do in this movie, we'll just kind of jump around. There's not really much of a narrative per se. It's kind of like these people hunting the Sawyers while the Sawyers hunt it. Neither here nor there. The changes to Leatherface in this movie are tectonic, right? Like they are huge changes. Now he is essentially... Like, who had on their bingo card that we'd see Leatherface jerk off and bust? I didn't, right? Now Leatherface is wearing a suit like he's fucking 90s Mankind. You know what I mean? Like, I think at the end they're trying to tell us he's dressing like his grandpa to emulate his grandpa, right? He's kind of licking his lips, right? Every time he fights, he jumps out of a door like a Tusken Raider.
I'm going to say none of the things that Leatherface does in this movie were on my bingo card. Like that.
No, because the first one, the guy opens a door. We see Leatherface. He hits him, shakes like he's cattle.
Yeah.
The door slams. That's why that image of Leatherface stunned everyone. Yeah. Now he is essentially a pro wrestler. He's a pro wrestling character. Like the chainsaw's there more for sound and effect than actually doing carnage in most of the movie. Right? He's licking his lips. He's rubbing Stretch. That scene where Stretch is in the ice bath and he's touching the chainsaw up her leg and then poking her crotch with it. You're like, all right, this is kind of gross. He's licking his lips and she's like, are you the best? Are you good? Oh, you real good. And then Leatherface licking his chops, and he just fucking he's jerking off downward. Like he's using gravity to get that first fucking.
He just has to get that nut out, but he can't get it going up. He's got to go down.
He's tugging it straight up and down like he's trying to pick up mole mirror or whatever. And he busts and then freaks out and childishly destroys everything in the scene except for Shorty. So you're like on a comical level.
That sequence, starting with when the dude leaves, the coworker leaves the radio station, to go.
The guy who just spits on every surface he sees.
Yeah, apparently who has no regard for anybody's.
Why can't I get the girl? I have my office is covered in spit, but why can't I get the girl?
Because you're gross. So
because you're fucking disgusting.
When he goes, the sequence. So this is what I was talking about with like the echo of the first one and like the like depravity and the like sincere terror of that first one that echoes throughout the movie. Is that like sequence when she opens the door and Chop Top's sitting there.
Yeah.
If you've never seen the first one, without any sort of pretense, that could probably come off really corny or really weird, just uncomfortable and like in a way that doesn't make sense. Because the first one has happened, and we all have knowledge of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We
see him channeling the hitchhiker.
The sinister nature of the whole sequence is so much more terrifying. It should only work in camp. But like there's something about the level of sinister that works that is just unbelievably off the charts creepy. And I mean, it's a great performance too.
I love Bill Moseley. This is not my favorite.
It's like so weird.
I just think he did a better version of this in House of a Thousand Corpses. He wasn't asked to be comical in that one. Because I think the instincts of this one, I think it is a fascinating place. Because as an audience, I think people were probably caught off guard the first time they saw this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, okay. And I have to imagine that the audience, even me when I'm still watching it again for the 50th time or whatever, there is a part of me that's pulling so hard to try to find those Texas Chainsaw moments.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, I'm doing a lot of creative effort to try to match these moments. Right? And so there is this tug of war. The audience is helping you pull the boat that other movies don't benefit from.
Right.
And that scene is a great example of that. Is pretty creepy. He's scratching his plate and then eating little chunks of his own rotten flesh.
So gross.
All right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Leatherface just busts in the middle of like a long. This scene is long. And it drags. Like it's long in a bad way. Right? Where you're like, what the fuck are we doing? It gives you time to sit and have an existential crisis like, that's it. Texas Chainsaw's dead. They'll never make another one. And then Leatherface bursts in and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, yeah, now he's mean Leatherface. You're like, oh no, he's just scraping the chainsaw on a metal door. He's not. He's in a suit.
Doing dance moves. That was actually my favorite part.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite moment is like when he like runs down the corridor and he's just like.
Yeah.
I was like, that's quality. That's some
I
quality
like when he's
right
pretty much when his dad's like, have you been trying to have sex with this girl? And he just goes, like he's a lovable scamp in like a TGIF show. But it's just a prime example of the kind of massive shifts in the film. And to your point, I think we're adding a level of creepiness that probably doesn't exist. And Tobe Hooper always had this argument. He said that if you go back and watch Texas Chainsaw, it's spiritually much closer to Texas Chainsaw 2 than people thought. He said that movie's loaded with dark comedy. People just couldn't appreciate it because they were so fucking shocked by what they were watching. And I would imagine that's true. There weren't a lot of Texas Chainsaws before that. So you were probably...
I'm not sure there were any.
Yeah, you're probably in the theater like, holy fucking shit.
Sure.
But I would say this is the case in point in this movie, right? They recreate the famous dinner scene.
Yeah.
That dinner scene in Texas Chainsaw, the setting, Grandpa being essentially a non-moving invalid, right? Them trying to catch on to this past that no longer exists. Just on like an artistic level, that scene is so scary. The fucking close-ups on the face, and it's so it feels sacrilegious. You're like, I shouldn't be watching this, right? It's one of the most affecting scenes I've seen in a horror movie. Like the first time viewing, I was like, I wanted to run out of there. I felt like I was tied to that dinner table. In this one, we have this big kind of, Batman and Robin style sets, right? These colorful carnival sets or whatever. She's tied to the chair. This time, Grandpa's like licking spoons. Grandpa's used for comedic effect, right? Grandpa was a one-hitter, right? When they went to automation, he couldn't take it. And so they're still doing the same thing, trying to achieve the same result. But the scene has no thud.
There's no teeth.
To use the pun of the hammer. Yeah, there's no thud. There's no impact. You have Leatherface like trying to lick her and touch her like, boy, you fell in love. And then finally he gives her up, whatever. It's just that to me is the difference. Because it's not really funny in any way, right? It's not one of the scenes that's going funny. And it also loses all of that impact. And actually, this is one of those scenes where if you've seen the first one, you're recoiling from this version so hardcore. And I think that's where the more the movie digs so deep into the comedy, I think are the scenes where it's truly lost. The scenes when Dennis Hopper has two little chainsaws and his chainsaw holsters, that's where the comedy is magic.
Yeah.
And so I think finding those, I think they went too overboard multiple times. But there's still stuff that's just undeniably kick-ass.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's comedy that works in this movie, and then there's comedy that is... Here's the thing, like, this is the Tobe Hooper, like, genius, is there's comedy that works, and there's comedy that either is going to work or is going to fall flat but be caught by the echo of the first movie. Like, I can't get over
or be so bad that when it's interrupted by a chainsaw, you're like, yes.
Yeah. Like, I can't get over how smart it is to make a movie like this next, like, that has to stack next to the original.
The insight to not try to recreate one of the most affecting films ever is that should be applauded.
That's next level shit.
Yeah, because
something really interesting about that.
A lot of the Texas Chainsaw franchise could get dinged for being derivative, formulaic, and more importantly, boring as fuck. What you cannot say about Texas Chainsaw 2 is that it's ever boring.
Yeah, no.
It is never, even though it has no stakes, we're not involved in any of the characters. You pretty much know what's going to happen. There's not a huge body count. It's so captivating to watch. There is such a bizarreness to the film. Let's talk about something else I love in this movie. Stretch is one of my all-time favorite final girls in any horror movie. Not only because I had the biggest crush on her as a teenager.
Fair.
Stretch is fucking awesome. The performance is so fucking good in the middle of this fucking cartoon. I can't believe Stretch didn't become like the next great scream queen. Stretch is fucking amazing in this movie.
She is.
So good.
I mean, I get why. That's a hard one to overcome. Like, to be in the sequel to probably the greatest slasher movie of a generation.
Right, and it was so weird and didn't... So it was, the character was Vanita Brock. I'm trying to see who the actress was.
Oh, no, her name's Carolyn Williams.
Caroline Williams, that's right. I actually met her at a convention. She's very nice.
But, I mean, like, she didn't, like... to be honest with you, I think Texas Chainsaw 2 might be the biggest one she did. I think that's... For our group of people, probably the second biggest movie she did was Leprechaun 3. Like,
well, of course, that movie fucking rips.
Yeah, I mean,
but
obviously.
Leprechaun maybe next year. Brace yourself. But it is. I think this performance is fucking incredible, right? Like there was a famous story about her audition where she had them call, or she called on the phone when it was her turn, so she could run into the room screaming, jostle people around, barricade the door, so like she could show herself in action. And she fucking delivers. Because between the Sawyers and Dennis Hopper, how the fuck do you live betwixt this rock and hard place? Like, how do you, the unstoppable force and the immovable object, how does one not get crushed? And she made the choice. She's like, I'm going to give a real, true performance. She's like, this is what it's going to look like if you woke up in Space Jam and you would actually have existential crisis and be terrified. Like, I'm surrounded by cartoons. The rules of nature don't apply anymore. Right. And she's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And that final iconic scene of her screaming atop the fucking tower with the little Texas flag, right? It looks like a scene from Pee-wee. So, R.I.P. Pee-wee. That alone, I was like, she's fucking crushing this role.
Yeah.
Stretch deserves more respect. So I was like, you've got your Sydneys, your Nancys, Lori's, all of these that became more iconic. I think she's every bit as good as most of them.
I think she does a lot with a little. I think that's like a really important thing about these kinds of movies.
You couldn't have less. Let's put it that way. She could not have been given less to do.
I think that's what's really great about. I think that's what makes like truly awesome scream queens. Like Sidney Prescott might be the lone example of like someone who literally the movie has to be focused on. But even like Laurie Strode just has to survive, and Jamie Lee Curtis does so much with that. So much with that like tension. It's pretty incredible.
She's kind of carrying the entire weight of parents
Yeah.
who want their daughters to stay virginal and virtuous.
Right.
She does a great job.
Stretch has one movie and like not a lot going on in that meal, and man, does she just make a Thanksgiving dinner out of it.
She
It's
crushes this
awesome.
movie. This should have launched her. I mean, I thought she was unbelievable. Let's talk about another performance in the movie. Fucking Dennis Hopper, who always said this was his worst movie until he made Super Mario Brothers.
And, you know,
I actually like both of these movies, so I can't. Dennis Hopper is so fucking ridiculous in this movie. Because he's playing it. This is the thing what I love about Dennis Hopper. He plays this so insanely straight.
yeah.
While fully embracing, because I would argue this movie is full camp,
Okay.
but is salvaged by the franchise, right? But Dennis Hopper with the fucking 2 little chainsaw holsters, come on. That's as B movie as B movie gets. And it's awesome. But he rolls up, I'd like to see that, authority. And he's like, come on, feller. And he's just driving around the movie being a fucking bizarre devil.
There's this weird.
Sorry,
like,
girl, I used you as bait. I knew it.
There's so much strange, like foghorn leghornness to it.
Oh
that you're
my
just
God,
like,
dude.
Did you really think this was? It's such a strange when people make movies like this. Whatever part of their career they're in, like and there's a lot of like very serious actors.
Dennis
who, like,
Hopper was already a legend at this point.
Yeah, like Dennis Hopper had been in.
He'd already done Easy Rider. That's the legend-making movie.
Well, like Easy Rider was his movie. I think he was about to do Apocalypse Now. Like, regardless, Easy Rider, Rebel Without a Cause, like these are movies that are like iconography.
And he was one of those like famous in Hollywood circles. Like people just wanted to hang out with that guy.
Yeah, like he was a famous like guy who people like he
Acted in 222 films. Dennis Hopper.
Like he had the good coke. That was a big thing for him, and like that was always like one of those things they talked about. Was it Hopper was like the guy with the good stuff?
Yeah.
But like
Cool Hand
this is a
Luke.
guy
I
who,
forgot
like,
he was
Cool
in
Hand
that.
Luke, Rebel Without a Cause, Giant. Like he was a major actor at this point.
He had already done Apocalypse Now by the time this movie came out.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, really. Oh wait,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. That was 79, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck
So
me.
this came out like 7 years after.
You know what's crazy? I keep thinking that this movie came out in the 70s still. Because
After Apocalypse Now, he had kind of a slow period, and then he picks up again with this, River's Edge, Blue Velvet, and Hoosiers. And this is like, he's back like fucking flowing.
I keep thinking this movie was like in the 70s. And it was
Imagine going
it was
from
86.
Apocalypse Now to do this movie, and he just said, yes, and gave full... That scene when he's shopping for chainsaws, and the old hillbillies watching him
on, man.
and going, hee, as Dennis Hopper's, yeah, and he's in the store like doing katana movements with...
You're telling me he
That
didn't know
scene
what
of
he was
him
doing?
spraying at shavings on himself as he's hacking the log, as the old hillbilly laughs, and it seems like it lasts for like 3 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
That to me is where it says it's camp and you'll love it.
You're telling
Dennis
me that
Hopper-
motherfucker doesn't know.
That's
Come on.
the funniest shit. I love that scene. And
That
this is what I
guy
mean.
knew
That
exactly
stuff to
what he
me
was doing.
Is just fucking worth it. Like him running around and he's like, I'm the Lord of the Harvest, and he's fucking slashing his ideas. He's like, I'm gonna collapse them. It's just fucking hilarious. And then we get to see Dennis fucking Hopper, do chainsaw dueling with Leatherface, and you're like, how can you not at least on some small level be poetic about this movie? Because this is what they said if like you asked the biggest horror movie dork to be like, what would be a cool movie to you, and he kind of like fanficked it. This is fucking like that scene is...
Come on.
If the comedy stuff really bothers you, I appreciate that. I'm not a big like don't mix my horror and comedy too much, right? Normally, that's how I like to watch them. Which is weird because I write horror movies that have a lot of comedy in them. And again, no one's ever bought them, so maybe I'm bad at it. But you were not going to remake the first one. So I think taking the wild swing and just having fun with it didn't bother me. It's bothered me less with age. Let's say that. When I was a younger horror movie fan, I was pretty militant, right? I was like a Richie from Scream. You fucking destroyed what the franchise was building. Even though it's only one movie and not a franchise.
Right, yeah.
I just think you see like when they're running through that tunnel and it's like lit by Christmas trees and it's all these skeletons posed in like beachwear. Like the Sawyers get down to Jimmy Buffett in the tunnels. You're like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. Dennis Hopper fighting Leatherface while the guy under the table has his asshole chainsawed and he grabs Nubbins who has a grenade. And he's like, sometimes life kicks you in the balls. Grandpa throws a hammer that hits Leatherface. They all fall and blow up. Yeah, I like it. I don't have a good reason why. I get all of the reasons why you could hate it. I like it. They tried to make Leatherface into Sloth, but then also like a rapist. You're like, there are missteps. I get it.
I think that what the movie does so well is by leaning into all these things. Like, we are talking about this. This is a movie that like is preceded by, like you were saying, like one of the most important horror films in the genre. Like
one of the most important American films ever. Take it out of that. Like that.
Sure.
That is an achievement they were never going to get back.
Right. One of the most important films in American cinema. For this to exist, it only can exist this way. Because otherwise, there'd be no franchise if this movie was like, and granted, this movie didn't do great. However, it did make its money back.
Yeah.
But because it goes so hard in the other direction, but also maintains this aesthetic that it had for the first one. Like, again, I cannot stress this enough. Tobe Hooper's a fucking genius for knowing exactly how to not make a sequel here. Like, it's so important to not make a sequel that's just like, we'll go back to this fucking house. Like, it's a huge deal at that point to know not to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, that takes balls. That takes skill.
The whole idea of like, hey, cook 'em up. It's a Cowboys game this weekend. We got a lot of money to make. There's a scene when the old Sawyer, right? Beauregard Sawyer, whatever the fuck he called himself.
Beauregard.
Yeah, that's clearly not his name. I'm just saying that 'cause it sounds funny.
I don't know, but I like
Beauregard
that name, Beauregard
Sawyer, right? And he's like trying to buy off Dennis Hopper with cash.
Yeah.
And you're like, what a direct fucking assault against the first movie. These people were cannibals and barbecue stand, operators based out of necessity because America decided to shun them. Now they are fucking, like, you just imagine them in a line of like 6 other food trucks yucking it up with, hey, you think Staubach's going to get 4 this weekend? I don't know. Can I have another fucking corn dog? You make them really good. What? Like the idea of seeing like Beauregard and Chop Top in a truck sweating like it's Chef with Jon Favreau is like bizarre. Like, it's fucking bizarre. And I know there's a ton of footage that got left on the cutting room floor. They really wanted it to be short. But it's the choice to go from like literal slaughterhouse, to food trucks and an amusement park where they have like a giant hand holding a knife statue, like just weird. Where now Mama is set up in the top of a fucking mountain like she's Skeletor, and she's holding a chainsaw like the chainsaw was important outside of the first. It would be an almost impossibility to go back in time. And you're at that door, right? You're having a ciggy. You're seeing all the people fucking sweating, crying, puking as they leave the first Texas Chainsaw. And it's like, hey, boy, come over here. And they're like, don't call me boy. And I'm like, boy, come over here. Right? So you're trying to talk like a Texan, right? So these little white teenagers come over and you just go, hey, man.
This is a great line.
Do you want to know what your future holds? I go, what? And it's like, would you watch a Texas Chainsaw too? You fucking bet your ass I would. I'm like, I bet my ass you would too. You want to know exactly what happens in it? And I would lay out the tale of Stretch and Lefty. Lefty finding Franklin's body in the bottom because he was the uncle of Franklin and Sally. right? And I'm like, there's amusement parks and there's food trucks and a chili cook-off. And they're going to play a Leatherface murder on the radio for a long time. And then Stretch, they're going to see his mom, and Stretch's going to rip her apart in a cloud of dust where she kills his other brother who has a metal plate from Nam. And he's dressed like he's one of the Beatles and those teenagers would probably jump me and be like, don't waste our time, boy. And I'd be like, oh, don't call me boys. I'm all beat up. Then I get back in my time machine and be like, they weren't ready. They weren't ready. Right. It would be impossible that anyone would accept walking out of Texas Chainsaw that this is what was coming next. And for that alone, I had to, on some level, be romantic about this movie.
Right. I think it's impossible to imagine someone thinking that this was going to work. But I think that if you have the imagination to make a movie like this, you can keep a franchise that, look, probably in the hands of a lesser director, a lesser writer, a lesser conceptualist for this kind of movie, in the hands of a lesser, truly, this only really works for one movie. But because you're willing to give into not just the genre you're in, but also to just say, like, I'm not going to make lightning strike in a bottle twice. So what I'm going to do is make a movie that I think is entertaining, has Dennis Hopper in it with fucking dueling chainsaws. Just, I mean,
the holsters is so funny.
In terms of, like, insane things you've seen in a movie, that's got to be, like, especially in the
dude. That whatever, I was telling Amy last night, I was like,
that is insane.
If more people knew this movie, that would be the greatest Halloween costume ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Just carrying your chainsaw holsters.
I mean, like, that's the thing too. That's the thing too, is there's just something about that that's so.
Yeah, I told Amy, you be sexy
outrageous.
Leatherface, and I'll be Dennis Hopper.
It's so outrageous. Like, it makes no sense.
It's so awesome.
And it's awesome.
And he's ripping Leatherface's guts out, and then he pulls his little one. Grandpa's whipping hammers. It's just bizarre.
I mean, it's just great. It's just great.
And
that's all.
That's what I like. There's still scenes of Leatherface, like, in his fucking chop house holding up skins, and you're like, yeah, you kind of devalued that image. But you're like, but then he puts it on Shorty with the hat, and he dances with her.
I mean,
and then we see, like, the remnants of LG try to save her.
I mean,
like,
that
it
is
still
the part
works.
that's like
most of it still works.
Creepy.
Yeah,
that's the part that's creepy. And because we've seen the first one, it's like, oh wow, this is still like a fucking Texas Chainsaw movie.
They're
Jesus
constantly
Christ.
taking the piss out of the thing that we're there for, which is this nightmarish experience.
Yeah, exactly.
They're constantly taking the piss out of it.
I think that's pretty genius, man. Taking the piss out of your own concept.
It's
smart.
like when the dad at the end's like, life kicks you in the ball. They're kicking the first movie in the balls constantly.
Oh,
and just saying, stop asking me for another of those. Enjoy that as it is, which I think more sequels need to do. Right? You need to go your own way and add something to the franchise. The thing is I think there are definitely inarguable times where they go too far down the comedy rabbit hole. Like, Chop Top could have used like 85% less of him. Right? Or do something that makes it. And I love Bill Moseley. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Bill Moseley's awesome.
The dad, it's like they only talk in full volume screams, so I just don't need that. Like, it's not Jersey Shore. I don't need that. Right? Like, that's not what I'm here for.
Right. You're not here for that buff cabbage.
The chainsaw is the screaming I want, not the fucking, you mowing blue in the ear. It's like, damn, come down, dude. But that's the thing. For going too far down the comedy rabbit hole at times. For having two characters that every time you open their mouth, you want to turn the movie off. For being a comedy and not this fucking true terrifying experience. The amount of this movie that still works is fucking baffling.
It's pretty impressive.
On its surface, this movie should be such a fucking failure that we buried it and never talked about it again.
Absolutely.
It fucking works.
That's what I'm saying. This should have stopped an entire franchise in its tracks.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, that was not going to work. Like, this is like is the Exorcist argument. We like we said at the very beginning of the pod. This is like, that is the worst sequel I've ever seen to like a movie that like paradigm shifted the entire genre, the entire filmmaking community. And this is like, this could go that way, but for some reason there's some alchemy in it. There's just some flavor that works and fits this like Hicksploitation, whatever you want to call it, vibe on a level that like no one expected it to. It works, man. It works.
And you see, they never quite escaped like the who did that? Is it Alexander Aja did the Hills Have Eyes remake? And he kind of launched this like gritty, grimy color scheme for all of these like torture porn reboots.
Was that the first one? I thought the Texas Chainsaw remake was the first one.
I thought Hills Has Eyes was first. That's a pretty awesome remake. Neither here nor there, right? But it was like this time where they decided they never quite escaped that vibe for the rest of the franchise, it felt like, until the new Netflix one. So 3 is kind of like a middle ground. And then we're kind of back in this, like, they never escaped the reboot vibe of trying to just be like a bone-crushing, experience and fear and bodily harm.
Right.
And so it is interesting to kind of watch this one, because this is the one that is the most unique in the franchise for sure. Right? And if you stack it up against the number 2s of other franchises, which we try to do, right? Phantasm 2, same thing. Candyman 2, same thing. Nightmare 2 kind of went its own way, and people have loved that now because it's a unique entry. Friday 2 added some pretty cool mythology. I think a lot of us like that one. Halloween 2, pretty much exact reboot, right? Child's Play 2, exact reboot. So if you start Scream, exact reboot. If you start going through all of the number 2s, it's very rare that one of them actually steps out and takes a shot.
Right.
I appreciate that. Jaws 2, just a fucking another like slasher remake of Jaws, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I think this should be applauded. I think we should protect this and use it to honor movies going forward.
As someone who does not enjoy these movies, I enjoyed the shit out of this. Like, truly, it was really, really.
Well, if you're not into everything getting meat hooked, this has other stuff to offer you.
It does. I agree.
So I think that's great. So yeah, I enjoyed Texas Chainsaw 2. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I hope you're ready to go through the entire franchise with us. I hope you're ready for 31 more 30 podcasts now. 31 days, 30 podcasts. Texas Chainsaw, I'll make sure you guys have that. Easy to find. That should be on your feeds if you look right behind this one. Tomorrow, Texas Chainsaw 3. Every day for the rest of the month, we have an awesome horror movie for you. If you go follow us on any of your social media, you can find our graphic we made that has the entire schedule and calendar of what's to come. Entire Texas Chainsaw, entire Phantasm, Scream 5 and 6 coming up first. So go find us on social media so you have the schedule so you can start watching ahead. I know a lot of you do horror movie watching challenges this time of year. We're here to help with that. Make sure you go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod so you can get those 3 extra films that you want to have in your archives. You want to watch those movies with us. We appreciate the support. We're working hard to try to make that an awesome time for you. So reach out over there. filmalchemistpod@gmail.com if you have ideas, suggestions, comments, anything like that. We're easy to get a hold of. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews. And guys, the most important thing we're asking this month, directly contact a horror movie or movie-loving friend in general. Please. Let them know what we're up to. Let them know that we're working hard over here.
Message a
we'll
friend.
Take it from there.
Make them sit in your car and listen to this.
That's right.
They'll thank you for it. Maybe.
Yeah. Put a
they'll
fucking
be like,
human
"Oh my
face
God,
and a
get me
cowboy
out of here."
hat on them and twirl them like a pretty ballerina while you listen to our voices.
Do the little Leatherface dance. You never know.
Or don't do crimes while you listen to us, but that's fine.
Don't do crimes. Crimes are bad.
Just listen. That's all we're asking. It's a lot of work this month, and we are so fucking excited. It's finally here again. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.